Hey, what's up, YouTube? We've made it to March. Here's another closet video, which I hope will turn out better than some of the other ones I've made because I found a way to stabilize the camera. So, let's get to it. Basically, what I want to talk about today, because it's March 3rd, 3/3/2020, which every month we're going to have a date like that this year. So, yeah. Basically, I want to talk about something that is on my mind because of something that happened 17 years ago today. And what it is it has to do with Rugrats. Once again, another memory related to my once favorite cartoon of the 90s and early 2000s when I was probably too old to be watching it, but whatever. Once upon a time, I had this one episode that I was obsessed with for the simple reason that I consider it to be my absolute favorite TV episode of Rugrats. Okay, I'd love to talk about my top 5 or my top 10, but I just have a feeling that if I did that, this video would be way too long. Okay, so what I would like to talk about is primarily my absolute favorite Rugrats TV episode. Meaning, if I had a memory stick that could only have one 15-minute, or actually 11 or 12 minutes, is actually what they were with the commercials. One episode, not the second one, just one. And it could only have one show to preserve in a time capsule to remember what the Rugrats were about at their finest. I would pick one single episode, and not even the second one in the pack. And the title of it is All's Well That Pretends Well. Okay, why do I like that episode? It's a very long story. And it's also a long story as to how I came to record it 17 years ago today, which makes me really sad to know that I am 17 years older than I was at the time, which is a little shy of 20. So it was maybe 3 months before Rugrats Go Wild, about which I've already made a 15-minute video. So, once upon a time, okay, my first 14 years of life, I knew nothing about the Rugrats, okay? If you'd asked me what that was when I was, say, 13 and younger, I'd have probably thought it was a type of rat. If you'd have told me it was a cartoon, I would have expected it to be about mice or animals or something. No idea it was about toddlers that could think and talk more like adults. So, I discovered the show when I was 14, like a few days after my 14th birthday in the summer of 97. So I'm sure you know what year I was born from that. So it was just something that I was watching every single day to kind of get my mind off of the depression that I felt about leaving the 7th grade and then going into the 8th grade, which I guess chronologically I should have been in 9th grade, but that's another long story too. And I just felt very depressed at that time in my life, and Rugrats was just something that kind of got my mind off of that. And so every single day I would watch it, in the morning and then again 6:30 p.m. And it became an obsession very quickly. Well, I was already obsessed with the common cold. That had been my late 7th grade obsession because we studied it in science class. And so I was obsessed with colds. And I'm sure everyone who has ever watched the Rugrats when they were sick or just feeling under the weather has had this thought in their head. I wish I could enter the cartoon world and give this cold to Angelica. Okay, I'm sure, well, hopefully, everybody that knows her character and has watched the show when they were sick has thought, I wish I could just sneeze in her face right now and get her sick as a dog. The No More Cookies episode kind of, put that thought in my head as to what it would be like if she were sick. And, but I really wanted it to be something contagious, but not quite as disfiguring as chickenpox, like in that episode. So anyway, when I turned 15, a year later, my literal birthday wish was not for money, was not for a car, was not for a boyfriend. It was for Angelica Pickles to catch a cold in the truest sense that a cartoon really can. Okay, so that was my 98th birthday wish. And for many years, I just thought, oh, that's never going to happen. That's just so far-fetched and outlandish that it's never going to happen. Well, lo and behold, one day, something happened in May of 2002 that just made me want to jump on a trampoline. Like, literally, if I'd had a trampoline, I'd have been jumping all the way up into the sky. I was so happy. I heard my sister watching Rugrats from another room, and the most beautiful sound was heard, and it was Cheryl Chase pretending to sneeze for Angelica. I thought to myself, oh my gosh, there really is a God in heaven. My wish was being granted in the form of an episode named All's Well That Pretends Well. And I went in there and I watched it with my sister, and it was just the most exciting day of my life, like maybe even more than Rugrats Go Wild. And I just wanted to scream with excitement. I was just so freaking happy. I mean, words cannot describe it. Like, I almost cried tears of joy over it. Okay, because the number one thing that I had wanted for so long was for Angelica Pickles to catch a cold in some way, shape, or form. Okay, now, most people probably don't think much of that episode, because it's probably boring compared to a lot of others. But for me, it was like the perfect answer to my wish or prayer or whatever. So, somehow or another, it took until March 3rd, 2003, which the coincidence will never be forgotten. March 3rd, 2003 at 3 o'clock p.m., 3333, on Slime Time Live, which was totally appropriate. They played it, and I was able to finally record it on VHS at the time, then later transferred to DVD, and, So, I've just been obsessed with that one episode. Like I say, there's a lot of others that I like, for various reasons. I have to make videos about each one, because it would just be so long. But my absolute number one favorite Rugrats episode is the 11.5-minute episode, All's Well That Pretends Well. I mean, it's just so beautiful, just the way that it was done, it just worked out so perfectly. And I guess the only way that it could have been better would have been like if the second one, would have elaborated more on just how sick she got, the next day. Because obviously, she was absent from the second one, which was totally appropriate in creating this illusion that she was truly sick and couldn't play with the others the next day. But, I guess it's good enough as it is, And, I mean, it's just, I know it just seems so weird, for someone my age to be that obsessed with a character from the 90s, which was technically not even my childhood anymore, but my adolescence. That's what you are as a teenager, an adolescent. But there's just no other doll. You wonder why I care so much about her. But, there's just no other doll of which, or no other cartoon character of which I have a doll that I've had since junior high. Like, I didn't get any other dolls in junior high whatsoever, but this one little Angelica doll. And she's wearing a makeshift diaper that I put on her due to something that happened about an hour and 5 or 10 minutes into Rugrats Go Wild, which I made a 15-minute video about it, so go watch that. But I've got her, and I later acquired Chucky, and he's also wearing a makeshift diaper that I made because I feel like, if a girl's going to wear a diaper, well, it's just ridiculous for a younger boy, to be wearing underwear. But I don't know. I guess if you wanted it to be underwear, it could be. And I have a Tommy, her cousin, who is the only reason she's even on the show. And I have a Dee Dee, so that for when they need to be changed, I guess she's there to do it. So, yeah. Basically, there's just no other show like that. Like, I don't care if I'm an 80s kid instead of a 90s kid. There's just no other show on the planet that I was so obsessed with as Rugrats, except maybe As Told by Ginger later on, but that's a whole nother video in and of itself. But I'm just an obsessive person by nature, and the epitome of my favorite Rugrats TV episode is All's Well That Pretends Well, because in some ways, that could be the title of an autobiography and movie about my life.